And then you got to find the sweet spot on your wood block. Over there, no, no. Yeah, which is the center. Bop, 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 bop. Okay, it's an old piece from long ago. But anyways, that's sort of one way. The other thing, of course, is if you have to play the woodblock fast, a padded stand, a padded trap table, something of that nature, 2 like mallets, and that's going to give you your overall best sound. The claves. These are claves, but these are not the claves I would recommend for concert band. These are the claves I'd recommend to make sure you set the beat for a drum circle. These are your synthetic claves. They do sound great, and frankly, I use them all the time, for drum circle type stuff. But rosewood claves are really the best thing to have. They're going to have the best, sound. This is one of those areas too. Kids aren't necessarily going to know how to hold these. It's 2 sticks. That way you're not going to get any sound. So again, same concept with the wood block. You're forming the cup as if you're holding water in your hand. Only you're going to roll your fingers over and you're going to form that resonating chamber again. And the clave just rests there. But you got to find the sweet spot. When I first did it, I didn't have it. And I got to turn my Do you notice I have red and yellow? I have that for a reason. Okay? My reason is that there's a certain orientation that I know where that is that's going to be my sweet spot. So I know when the yellow is pointing up, that's where I have my sweet spot. And everybody's claves will be different. Okay, maracas. I do want to show you a little bit something on maracas. There are real inexpensive maracas that you get, like when you go to Mexico, at those places. This is a pair of LP maracas. We're going to talk about a few accessories now, but listen. Different pitches again, aren't they? Just like, the finger cymbals, etc. Okay, so when you have to play a pattern, I'm going to let gravity work for me. When you're playing maracas, sometimes people would play them up here. You get a lot more control when you play them down here. When you put your index finger on it, listen to how the sound dries up. And I also got a lot more control again. There's a type of a maraca, though, that works best when you have to do like incantation and dance or something like that. This one is not it. It's too dense of a maraca. There's too much mass there. But what's called what's it called? It's a ceramic maraca. Listen. So the right kind of equipment. Right, the right kind of equipment, again, makes all the difference in the world in playing all these different percussion things. There's some fun new things out too. We'll talk about castanets in a second here. Let me do that. Where are they? Last night, this gentleman played the castanets, I think, in the last piece and stuff, and he actually played them up high. And that's because of the type of castanet that I have. Most castanets that you may have in your school system will not have this special diagonal cut that I have on mine. These are black swamps. Now there's also a brand out there called Grover, which are really, really good too. These I can play as if I'm playing a stick. But if I play down here, I'm letting gravity help me. But there's still not a lot of clarity there, is there? So therefore, that's when the chair comes in. And the knee becomes kind of like the sounding board. And that gets you a whole lot more clarity where you can keep, tempo and time happening, much more. There's also something called the castanet machine. This would be when your students have to play castanets, but they have to go from one thing to another very, very fast, and they don't have time to pick them up. This is something where you can position castanets in so that they're always can be played, and they're always in the playable position. So I'm not going to demonstrate it now, but you get the general idea. Okay, which goes to a few other little things that we have which are kind of fun, and that is sleigh bells. One of those things where, how hard can this be? They're sleigh bells. Most kids, if they see them, they're going to see a handle, and they're going to probably do that. And that's okay for certain things. Some people could do this. But the most accepted way is what is called where this type of a technique. I do something a little bit different that I like to recommend to people. Do you notice when I'm holding the sleigh bells, you're still seeing the top of the sleigh bell handle there. What I like to do is I like to go above it so that I have more of my thumb and my index finger on top. So that when I form my fist and I go to play the sleigh bells this way, it's fist against fist. I have a lot more control now that way, and I'm not hitting directly on wood. So now I can play much more dynamically. I have control. Again, controlling the sound. A few other toys that we have out there. This, of course, is the vibra-slap. There's a way to play it. Most kids are going to see, wow, kind of looks like a ray gun, right? And it does. It looks like, okay? And so the first thing they're going to do is they're going to figure out, okay, you hit this ball on something. And you know what? It sounds. However, I'm holding both of these straps here. Now, I'm going to turn it over. I'm only going to hold one strap. Now listen. A huge difference in how, that overall sound is. A few other instruments. These are some new things that maybe you know about or don't know about. These are called one-shots. What a one-shot is, when you think about a shaker, you always think about a shaker as out and back. There's a rebound, okay? Well, these shakers have no rebound. I'm doing the same motion, but there's only one strike, hence the name one shot. Now, why is this important? If you have a piece, the other day, my band, we started off with A Night in Tunisia. And so sometimes I take the shaker and I'll play A Night in Tunisia, A Night in Tunisia. This time, I took my one shots and I played. In other words, with a regular shaker, you always have a duple thing to it because there's a call and response. These have no response. So you can play an actual rhythm. Okay? So they're called one-shots. These are some new shakers that LP has come out with. What's cool about these is degree of color and shade and variation. They're called twist shakers. The neat part about them, they can separate out, go back together, etc. Kind of cool. But then there's, listen, color, variation. That's sort of what it's all about too. So twist shakers. Here's one of my favorites. Well, of course, my ultimate favorite are fruit shakes, right? Okay, you've all seen these. Kids love these. When I play one of my bands, I always invite the kids up on stage to do the final number playing fruit shakes and stuff. But here's a cool shaker. This one is called a cube shaker. Now it's kind of wooden. You kind of have a wooden sound there, but there's some magic inside. I don't even know what it is. It's something patented. Now listen, I'm gonna make my hand go in a circle. It's not me. I mean, It's the instrument. But isn't that cool? And it triples everything up. So you take that same concept and let's take it into a tambourine. Tambourine in a box, right? So these are little new kinds of, nuancial things out there that are just kind of cool in the marketplace. Of course, everyone's favorite, the egg shaker, but I found one that's better. I've always said, if I was ever on a deserted island, I could never take anything with me. I could only ask for one thing. It would probably be an egg shaker. Because it's so cool of all the things you can do with it. Sustain. But I found one that's cooler. It's actually by Gone Bops, which is part of Sabian. Yes?
What was that tambourine? Was that really called a tambourine in a box?
Yeah, it's called a cube tambourine. Yeah. This is the coolest thing I've ever found. This is by Gone Bops, which is a division of Sabian. It's called a talking shaker. It has a drum head on this side and a drum head on that side, and wooden in the between. So when I hold it this way, well, it's a basic shaker. Now I'm going to hold it this way. Okay, that's good. But because it's a drum head, it's a membrane that I now can control. So by making my hands go in and out and, squeezing here and squeezing there, I have now a lot of color variation. So it's all gimmicks, I know, toys and things like that, but it's fun type of stuff. Now, we all know that percussion is so many things. We got 5 minutes. We don't have a drum set here, but some basic concepts. And by the way, we just lost a legend and a guy named Ed Shaughnessy. Ed Shaughnessy was the drummer on the Tonight Show band for 30 years. And he just passed away, had a heart attack a couple weeks ago. And I learned these little things from him, and just some basic concepts for you to be telling your drum set students. And in playing the jazz, in jazz type music, the most important thing is the ride cymbal and the hi-hat. It's 80% of the drive and the sound, the perpetual motion that you do. Bass drum and snare drum is only 20%, okay? And even the whole concept of the swing beat, the ride cymbal beat, da, 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 da. I found a great way to teach my own kids when my son was developing as a drummer. I said, the best word, yesterday in the drum circle, we had words to, like pass the ketchup in East St. Louis, we had all these words that we used to, for syncopations. Well, one of the best word associations for a swing beat is chicken bones. Chicken bones, chicken bones, chicken bones, chicken bones, chicken bones. There's a natural chick in there, which is where the hi-hat goes. Chicken bones, chicken bones. And so that's that whole concept of, teaching your kids, how to play that ride rhythm. There it is there. When you go to rock and roll music or Latin music, things kind of switch. Now, all of a sudden, the bass drum and the snare drum interaction, the boom, ba-cha, boom, boom, chick-boom, boom, ba-cha, boom, that becomes dominant. And, hi-hat, ride cymbal is less. Percussion, of course, is a whole lot more than what we're talking about. It's timpani, it's mallet percussion, and we're, basically out of time. But in timpani, always remember that there's, the most important part, of course, is where you have the kids hit the drum. Different types of mallets or different articulations are going to change the overall effect of the drum, different types of grips. But the most important thing is where you strike the drum. And notice there's a commonality of, just like with the snare drum, with the bass drum, the middle is never it, and I know you know that, okay? But this concept right there. Now, something about timpani rolls that I think that needs addressed is that when you have a little drum, you're going to have to roll faster, and especially if the pitch is high. When you have a pitch that's low, the roll speed does not need to be as fast. especially if you have a drum that's low, like a 29 or 32, the roll speed can be a lot slower. In fact, you can get away with playing basically 16th notes or at the basic tempo or speed that I'm playing now, and it still will sound like a roll, just like on a bass drum, because it's a big area that you're making it, move and vibrate, etc. So keep that in mind. Mallet percussion, the main thing that's happening now, of course, is the whole concept of field percussion. Your whole managing of equipment is such a big thing about being a band director, as I'm sure you already know. And you have to make sure your stuff is going to hold up out onto the field as well as inside. And so having strong, robust equipment is a very important thing. The other thing, of course, and by the way, my presentation will be available to you. We'll get it out to everybody, the PowerPoint slides, so you can even show it to your kids, etc. But when it comes to, as a band director, you don't always know what type of heads are needed for what. And this just gives you a little bit of an idea. Like, for marching drums, there's Kevlar heads. A smooth white head on a bass drum is always going to give you your best sound, not a dotted head, not a black drum head, for example. Likewise, drum sticks. A marching stick is a 3S or an MS1, stands for marching stick 1. All the companies use basically the same type of model number nomenclature. We already talked about the concert sticks and drum set sticks. Different mallets from timpani. There's ultra staccato down to soft concert bass drums. And then, of course, when you get to keyboards, it's mallets towards none, as I call it. I mean, there's just so many variations in what we do. But this gives you the basics as far as, what you need to get the best sound out of, each unit. And then, of course, all the accessories that in a band program to play the literature that you have, these are the basics that you need to be able to have in your program to play 95% of the literature that you have. So, I want to thank you for your time. I'm always amazed at how I can do this clinic in 1 hour. Anyways, if you have any questions, I'll be around to answer them and do the best that I can. So, thanks again. Okay. All right.